What's up, guys? Welcome to Monchkinz Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Monchkinz logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another video guide. And this time in this video, we are going to take a look at Trey's Lost Chapter. This is obviously going to be on the Lufenia fight, and I do apologize that the video is quite late. But before we do start, like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help this channel and I would really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's start this video. Alright guys, so as always, we'll start this off with how to deal with the Lufenia orbs. They do appear at the start of the battle and will disappear only when you reach less than 30% of the boss's HP. They gain 10 when the target takes any brave damage from a debuff. So characters like obviously Trey is going to be very helpful in this one. Furion also with his trap, Emperor, and speaking of traps of course, and we got Celeste as well, and amongst other character as well. There are quite a few characters that can meet this requirement, so you don't really have to worry about it. I think, at least, unless you're very new, of course, there are an abundance of characters that can do this as well. Anyway guys, I think let's move on to how the fight works. Now, the bosses will have two different auras on this one. There will be the yellow aura, which basically they will recover their brave and will have a huge amount of defense up. The red aura, which will give them the ability to break you regardless of your brave. And then when you reach below 30%, the bosses will gain the red aura again and will increase their aggression, basically doing a lot of brave plus HP attack after the first turn that you get them below 30%. They also do absorb the wind and the light elements, so just be careful of this one. Now, obviously, now that we know how the fight works, how are you going to deal with this fight? Now, the yellow aura is kind of easy to deal with if you have the right characters. Basically, all you have to do is to instant break the boss. Characters like Ramza with his shout ability, Gabranth, a Trey with the debuff which allows you to break the enemies regardless of their brave, things like that. Another way to deal with this is to just get killed. I know it sounds stupid, but if you have a reviver, as long as that reviver isn't targeted, of course, you can just let the boss attack you and their brave will drop down to 0, and basically next turn you can just break them and then just revive your character. That's another way to do this with the yellow aura. I don't really suggest to do this too much, because when you revive your character, their turn order tends to be a little bit far back, so you're not really getting a lot out of that. And obviously they do restart to their base, so any buffs that you had previously will disappear. The red aura, however, I mean, there's really not much you can do because they will be breaking you no matter what you do. I do just suggest having a healer, again a reviver just in case, but it shouldn't be an issue until you get to less than 30% of their HP, which I would highly suggest just using your summon in this phase. And if you have a burst in your back pocket, use that as well, because you do not want to deal with the red aura at less than 30%, because they will be doing a ton of brave plus HP attack, as I mentioned before. Sure, you can probably get away with reviving once, maybe once, I think. I tried it, and let me tell you, it's not that great, because they are very fast and they will have their turns before your revived characters get their turns, and basically they will target your reviver and that reviver ends up dying, and that's the end of it. So highly suggest use your summon and burst. And something I haven't written here is to actually delay them during this time. Don't delay them when they have their Lufenia orbs, because you do need the debuff to work to deal that brave damage before, so their counters go up, right? But when you reach less than 30%, you don't have to deal with the Lufenia orb anymore. So highly suggest use your delays in this one, in this phase in the fight. So speaking of characters that you may want to bring because of their delay, Y'shtola obviously, and you got Quistis, who is also one of the characters that is featured in the synergy for this one. And then obviously Amethyst Lion can erase some turns as well. There's a few characters that you can definitely bring here. Other characters that I would suggest, you've got Trey, obviously Emperor, Arciela, which you can HP silence, which is really great. Furion, Kryle can paralyze there as well. You got RNA, which can delay as well. Sarah right now with the global first LD rework, she's actually pretty decent now. Keys, if you plan to reduce the brave during the yellow aura, Keys is another key character that you can do. You can use his brave attack to reduce the brave down to 0. Warrior of Light, Cloud, Aerith, Celeste, Lightning, and a whole bunch more characters. Just try not to bring any wind or light elemental characters like maybe Plaid and Cecil. Some might even bring him along just for the aura, but honestly, there's quite a bit of characters that we got in global that can sort of replace Plaid and Cecil at this point in time as an aura bot. Now, as for the Cole characters, honestly, the only thing that I would really warn you guys about when it comes to Cole characters is do remember that there are limited amounts of debuffs that you can apply. There are 6 total debuffs you can apply, and for example, if you're using Trey and you're using his EX abilities debuff to break the bosses, well, you just make sure you don't actually use a lot of your Coles and fill up those spots. Make sure you always have a spot for that specific debuff. Okay, so Jack, Ramza, Hope, Caius, I think it's all very repetitive at this point. The Cole characters, the key ones are your debuffers, because they are the ones that are going to be able to let you do a lot more damage. Again, just be careful with the amount of debuffs you apply. I mean, Caius applies a lot, but then again, he can fulfill that role, which can break the bosses instantly as long as you time that doom perfectly. Alright, now let's talk about some party compositions. I have Y'shtola, Trey, and Sarah. I didn't actually get any bursts, so this was a little bit of a tough one for me. I did use old synergy on this one because honestly, I got older LDs pretty quickly and I really wanted to use them. That's basically why I ended up using this team. But if you do have like a burst character, you can probably replace one of these characters. It sort of just makes the last 30% a little bit easier. Like I said, it's a little bit tippy-toe if you don't have a burst. But yeah, my call team, I have Ramza, Aerith, and Cloud. Again, a lot of my delays towards the end. You can probably use it in middle as well if you really struggling, but I do suggest trying to keep them towards the end as much as possible. I have Ramza for my support and Ramuh for my summon. Alright, so the next team I have for you guys here is going to be the Emperor, Ramza, and Sarah. Honestly, Ramza is actually a really good pick for this fight. He kind of covers a lot of the things you need. The delay, the instant break. If you have his like burst, it's actually really good as well. So he kind of fills in a lot of the roles. He can heal as well. I think the main issue with this team is going to be you really don't have a reviver. So yeah, you just have to be a little bit careful about this team. As for the Cole, you got Hope, you got Gabranth, you got Jack. Honestly, you can probably replace one of these maybe with Aerith, maybe if you really want that revive. At least you'll have one revive, right? Support Ramza again, because I feel like Ramza is probably the best support for this one. You can probably get away with Ultimisia as well. But yeah, you know, summon, you got Ramuh. because the paralyze is actually really good. Alright, the last one I have for you guys here is going to be Cloud, Keys, and Sarah. This is going to be a little bit of a chase team. Ah, man, I've been putting Sarah a lot here. I think I'm just advertising how relevant she is right now, and you know how good she is right now, where before we were expecting, you know, not to pull, and she's going to be, you know, dead on arrival. So I'm just pushing it there. Sarah is really good. Cult Team, Kral, Jack, and Ramza. Support Ramza again, and Ramu for the summon. Alright guys, so we're towards the end of this video, and of course, final thoughts in this fight. Well, honestly speaking, this fight can be a little bit tricky, especially if you don't have, if you're running a team without bursts. This fight is going to be quite tricky because that last 30% is actually the most dangerous part, and you can probably argue a lot of the fight is always dangerous towards the end, but this is really significantly, like, really dangerous, especially if you don't have a reviver, or you can't delay, or you don't have a burst, and you only have your summon to really, you know, as your fail-safe, right? So that's why I do highly suggest just saving your summon here. It's your last fail-safe. I do suggest giving them at least a turn when they're for the first time, when they're reached less than 30%, because at least in my experience, they didn't go for a Brave plus HP attack straight away. They do that after the first turn. So their second turn that they have the aura, that's when they start doing it, and you can probably get away with one more turn of not dying to that, but it gets really rough. So for me, I think it's the safer bet is to actually use your summon after the first turn, but you can probably get away with the second turn. But yeah, I think the safer bet is to summon, and hopefully you have enough DPS or damage per turn, or DPT if you really want to be specific, and you are able to delay as well as much as you can during your summon phase in order for you to beat this fight. So overall, this fight actually was pretty challenging towards the end, but I wouldn't say it's really hard. So I'll probably put this in the middle of road, at least for my own personal opinion. And yeah, that is basically it for this video, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. Again, it does help the channel, and if you share this video, would really appreciate it as well. You can follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Monchkinz Gaming. Leave down in the comments below what your team was and your strategy. If you have a different strategy that I mentioned here, please let me know down in the comments below. And one last thing before I do go, guys, the next 2 weeks after the next 2 weeks I will be back on night shift again, and you know what that means. It just means slower video release than I already have with this video. So please have some patience, and yeah, that is it, guys. This is Monchkinz logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.